Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. Before we get into this video, I do want to mention one thing. I have one quick little announcement. I will be making merchandise, t-shirts in specific for this channel. And I have a comment down below in a comment section pinned that says if you would like merch, leave a like on this comment. It's just for me to get a rough estimate how many people would be interested. This is still in the making. It's not done. Clicking the like button doesn't mean you ordered one. It's just a rough estimate for me to know. And these shirts will be handmade by me and my friend, and we will be shipping them out. So this won't be a company. This will be my handmade shirts. So I think that that would be cool. If you have any ideas for logos or what you'd want on it, then give me ideas, as it's still in the making. But speaking about today, we'll be talking about the snowstorm. There is an ice/snowstorm, really more of an ice storm across, well, depends. There will be an ice and snowstorm, just leave it like that, across the United States. And then we're also watching the potential for a northeast-like system, nor'easter maybe, potentially across the northeast. Not a significant one, it seems, but inland locations could pick up on a decent amount of snow. And if you guys enjoy this video, if you like what you're seeing, consider subscribing, consider giving this a like, especially if you are a returning viewer. Otherwise, let's get into this. Alright, so let's start off by looking at the GFS model. This is a global forecasting system. I want to run through the storm semi-quickly today because I do have something at the end of the video I want you guys to see, and I think it's actually something very interesting. So let's go through this, but I will not try to rush as it is very important to get some of these details. So what I want to say right now is that a crippling, devastating ice storm is not underway. However, like it's always been said, it doesn't take a lot of ice to cause a lot of damage or havoc. There could be some locations getting up towards and maybe even above half an inch of ice, which is significant. But if you were to look at the models, you would see that some of them are putting out 2 to 3 inches of ice, which is just not going to happen. And recall yesterday I was saying that at this point it looks further more like half an inch is where most amounts will top out. But let's take a look at this. Right now we have a large system across Texas, Arkansas. Well, it's really located across eastern Texas, but it's spanning a tons of precipitation and snowfall. Really limited ice as of now, but that will continue to expand as it pushes towards the north. Notice a lot of ice into Texas. There have been some very heavy amounts of snow already. If I were to take a look at the snowfall reports, a lot of these here and here are from, obviously the first wave of this system, if you will. But notice right here we do have a report of up to 2 feet of snow. Panther Junction, Texas. I mean, it's funny. 24 inches. Some of these locations here get way above the hundreds during the summer, and they got 24 inches. And I mean, it is more of an elevated area right here, as we have a mountain range, the Rockies, the Sierra Madres. So yeah, it does make sense, but it's just impressive amounts to say the least. 24 inches. Now this will continue to move into central Texas, up into Oklahoma, western Oklahoma, Kansas, and into Missouri. Dallas most likely won't be seeing snow or much of ice out of this. Though I would not be surprised if there could be a few snow showers on the backside. But again, this wraparound activity doesn't look too impressive. So mainly rain for you guys. Oklahoma City could pick up on a few inches of rain or a few inches of snow. The GFS is underestimating the snow here. And I could just assume that based off what it does here further up north. Notice it takes snow into Kansas, Missouri. Kansas City may get some snow out of this finally. I know you guys had a very, very dry season similar to what we've had in Chicago. And notice that it moves into Illinois, southern Wisconsin, Michigan. All these cities here are going to be tough to call as it's a very narrow stripe of snow. Notice what the GFS does, though. It shows a lot of rain, snow mixing in. Again, this at this point will be falling as mostly rain. And the reason for this as well, look, it shows green colors across Iowa and Missouri, right, at 6 p.m. tomorrow. But all we have to do is take a look at the temperatures and see that that is not right. And, well, that's a 2-meter temperature anomaly, 2-meter temperature shaded. We have lower 20s here. So if it is liquid, which is possible, there has been liquid falling at 23 degrees before, I think, but that's like probably close to a record. That would be, freezing rain or sleet. But no, again, the GFS is just kind of struggling with the rain transformation, if you will, into the snow and wintry precip. So again, most of this here on the backside will be either ice or snow, mainly snow, especially as we get on further towards the north and later on into the day tomorrow. Notice that as we push this down here into right there into southeastern Kansas. A lot of that may be falling as snow as well, though again, the exact lines of snow and rain are always going to be hard, even just with regular storms, let alone one that has a ton of ice and you don't know which exactly piece may be falling, since the thermal dynamics all over the hemisphere are kind of intersecting each other, and that's what produces that sleet. So notice that this pushes off. For my southern Canadian viewers, you will get a decent snow out of this. Ottawa, Montreal, maybe Toronto, especially towards the back end of this. This is now early Saturday, and this will begin across southern Canada late Friday. Quebec, again, another location with some snow. The Northeast, no snow out of this for you. The Nor'easter, it's not this system, the potential one. Some ice for sure across upstate New York, upstate Vermont, New Hampshire, and into portions of Pennsylvania. That's why they do have winter weather advisories, and I think some storm watches for that ice potential. You'll notice as this pushes into Maine, that could also drop a bit of snow across northern Maine. Not necessarily southern Maine, coastal areas, but into southern Maine. Then I will show you the amounts of snow in just a second. I want to quickly just mention, this is the system we're watching for that potential nor'easter, if you will. Again, it doesn't seem too significant, but it could change quickly. So notice that it does have a bit of snow. This will most likely be falling as snow into Indiana, Ohio. Again, the GFS is really struggling with this. So, I shouldn't even be showing this model, to be honest, because it's just doing such a poor job. But I like to show all. Notice it takes the rain snow line pretty close to New York City. Again, it depends on which model you look at. Some are further to the north, some are further to the south. There could be a decent amount of snow, especially if it does what the GFS does here. It slows it down completely, drops snow across western, really all of Massachusetts, even Boston into New Hampshire and Maine. And it kind of sits around there for a while. So out of the first two events, I'll just show you all of it. Total snowfall, this is what it shows. Most of this will be falling. Hold on, let's go to total positive snow depth change, as this is a lot of ice showing here and not actual snow. That's, again, the GFS struggling. So a lot of this year will be falling from that second wave. As you can see, it disappears. This is the first wave snow. Again, Kansas City, I wouldn't be surprised if you could get some 6-inch amounts in the neighborhood of Kansas City, maybe even in Kansas City itself. Again, these amounts will be kind of sporadic depending on how fast that snow transitions and how the whole system behaves. Southeastern Kansas, Oklahoma City, obviously a little bit northwest, it will be heavier amounts. Central Texas and to Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, some 2 to 4-inch amounts are possible. Toronto, some snow. Montreal, Ottawa, Quebec, though definitely on the heavier side, and into the inland portions of the Northeast. Then if we were to see that second snow, there would be additional snow across Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, except the GFS doesn't show that because it shows rain because of the error it's doing. But notice it does bring additional snow across the Northeast. Again, these are most likely going to be within under a foot. Some models are showing close to a foot, but even that is a bit probably overdone. So not a major nor'easter, but the potential is there, right? Let's take a look at the Canadian. So the Canadian, I think, does a fairly better job of this, and as it's not messing around with the temperature so much. So notice that this pushes a lot of rain into Oklahoma, right? Then it transitions that over to snow, same as southeastern Kansas, Missouri, Illinois. The backside of this will start as freezing rain or maybe even rain, but it will quickly transition over to snow. Again, Kansas City right on the border, or maybe even more so St. Joseph. We'll have to see. This may push, the deviations with the storm, and officials' snow track may go a bit to the north and west, south and east. It depends really what the models do in the next hours. I haven't seen much difference for the past day out of these models, so generally it's probably going to maintain itself, but still, it's never safe to say it's 100%. So notice this is what the Canadian does, bring snow into Illinois, southern Wisconsin. This is more of a southern track. You can see it doesn't put much into southern Wisconsin. Some other models put more. This is now into Michigan, into the Northeast, southern Canada, right, and even some heavier amounts for coastal Maine, far eastern coastal Maine, and not the areas by New Hampshire, according to the Canadian, which seems reasonable. Now, this is the Canadian forecast for that second nor'easter potential, right? More snow across Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, southern Michigan. Not a big event, probably a coating of maybe 1 to 4 inches at this point, it seems, which is still decent, right? But nothing, not a major snowstorm. Where it could get a bit more significant is obviously the Northeast. Notice inland portions of the Northeast, right? Boston, not really Boston, I should say Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, seeing quite a bit of snow. Again, slowing down like the GFS said, and that could produce a lot of snow into portions of Maine. And the Canadian keeps things rather active and cold, unlike some other models. So its total snowfall accumulations are on the higher end, showing over 2 feet in some locations, which I don't think is going to happen. But over a foot is possible if a scenario like the Canadian comes true. Notice how we have snow across Illinois right there into Iowa. Generally, I would say 2 to 4 inches is possible, right? The National Weather Service is calling for 1 to 3 across northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. Or sorry, 1 to 4. But again, I would not be surprised if some amounts are significantly less, under even an inch. And while some locations have over 5, 6, 7 if it performs really its strength, really profoundly. But again, 7 inches does not seem to be widespread. It could be more of a widespread event, the 7 inches across Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. And then maybe as you get into Michigan and portions of southern Canada and Northeast, but not really across these locations. It doesn't seem to favor that. But again, these systems often trick us. There is going to be a system moving on to the northwest, which will also be dropping quite a bit of snow for the mountains into Montana, really western Montana, most of Idaho, portions of especially western Wyoming. Really not that much snow across Colorado, Utah, but it's there. So let's take a look at one more model that I would like to take a look at here, and it's the Icon. This is a German model. It relatively does a good job. I don't usually look at it because it hasn't had a great historical record. It was a relatively new model when I discovered it, and ever since then it has been getting, upgraded, but that means a lot of changes, so I don't know its reliability, to be honest, compared to other models. But this is what it's showing. Notice a more broad swath of snow, without higher amounts, and it goes up to 120 hours. So this is what it shows. Again, I mean, it still generally keeps to a similar trend. Just, I don't know if I agree with the snowfall amounts. Let's take a look at some of these high-res models like the RGEM, right? And let's track it out using the RGEM hour by hour, as I think this is a really good model. Did a great job with the last system, and will probably do a decent job with this one as well. Notice into Texas, the snow continues. It eventually pushes into Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri with the rain and ice beginning across Missouri. Then much of Oklahoma City transitions over to some heavy wet snow. Same with Kansas into Missouri. Notice the RGEM really favors that freezing rain. And again, even if it is that expansive, that's not going to be an inch because of the fact that these temperatures are marginal. It's falling very heavily, this precipitation, and it just will be running off the water. It will not be really sticking to trees instantly. But again, with that being said, up to half an inch of ice is possible, which is going to cause potential power outages. And if I were to draw out the areas that have the most potential for this, is southern central Illinois and just south of Kansas City. That's what the National Weather Service current thinking is, and I would say that is fair. Notice as it moves into Michigan, Indiana, the freezing rain kind of dissipates. It's either more of a rain or snow event. It does definitely pick up into Pennsylvania. That could be a concern as well, up to half an inch. Again, that's still way less than an inch or 2 or 3, which some of the models are showing. But again, the little ice is still a concern. Notice into Chicago, the RGEM transitions over that to snow, and maybe into portions of southern Wisconsin, reaching Milwaukee. Again, some models show it a bit further to the north, some further to the south, and a lot show it kind of what the RGEM is showing. Davenport, the Quad Cities, seems potentially maybe 1 to 4 inches. The range is big, I do apologize, but not a blockbuster event for sure, but 1 to 4 inches is still a big range. Into central southern Michigan, it does snow a bit, not really Detroit, and into southern Canada as well. Obviously Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Quebec. Obviously the further east and north you go will be higher amounts away from kind of Toronto area. And then into the northeast, again, that ice transitions over to rain in Pennsylvania, and we start seeing that snow. And the RGEM does develop that nor'easter first wave pretty well across, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. And it takes us through here. You can see it takes us through hour 84 with some pretty good snowfall rates further inland versus, compared to the GFS or even the Canadian. But in terms of total snowfall, it does show quite a bit from the first and second system across inland northeast. Syracuse, Concord, a lot of locations in upstate could be getting a good dose. Nothing historic, but significant nonetheless. Doesn't have to be historic to be significant. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, again, that same swath. These, you can see there's a lot of difference. It's not really consistent, and that probably will hold true. The HER model, which is a very high-res model that goes out to 48 hours every 6 hours. So this is a bit of an older model run. It's a few hours old, which really, shouldn't be that big of a deal. Sometimes it may be, but notice, again, very similar. Chicago, southern Michigan, it shows, maybe even to northern Detroit with this model. Kansas City, 4 to 5 inches, pretty sharp cutoffs. Southeastern Kansas, central Oklahoma into Texas and into Canada, it does develop that snow. Let's take a look at the RGEM model on pivotal weather, the European first. This is what the European does. Again, takes the system, lots of snow on the backside, lots of precipitation. It's very moisture loaded. This pushes up. Again, a lot of ice for this Missouri and central Illinois area, and I will show you the freezing rain amounts with this model. Notice Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, into Michigan. That snow begins to transition. That may be a few hours delayed, and if it is, that will really cut down on the snowfall amounts. And if it's a few hours earlier, that will really boost the snowfall amounts. So it's again, it's gonna be hit or miss, to be honest. And I know I hate when people say that, kind of vague, but with this system, regardless, even if it does overperform, it shouldn't be a foot or 2 feet of snow. Maybe up towards 7 inches across some locations in northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. But again, I'm at this point having troubles seeing those amounts widespread. I wouldn't be surprised though if on that report map we do see a few 6-7 inch reports. Then notice into Michigan and into southern Canada, and to Vermont, New Hampshire, into Maine. We see that snow and rain, really rain for the coastal areas. This is what the European does with that nor'easter type. Again, a bit of snow for northern Indiana, southern Michigan, northern Illinois. Not much, just a bit of a coating. And then notice we have that nor'easter, which the European does slow down, but further off coast, not allowing a lot of snow to accumulate. Regardless, let's take a look at the snowfall accumulations, and I will show you with some other models the freezing rain. As I'm seeing here, you can't look at it, but notice this is the snowfall with let's just put the two systems. Notice it does put a bit of snow across upstate here into Pennsylvania, downstate into Pennsylvania with that second wave. That first wave more significant, 7, 6, 5, 4, even into Chicago, the European goes a bit snow heavy, and quite a bit into Kansas and Wichita, or Missouri and Wichita. Whether or not that happens, we'll have to wait and see. It's definitely likely that a lot of these locations could be seeing 7 or 8 inches of snow. National Weather Service a bit more conservative with that, and that makes sense. RDPS, I showed you already this model on the Tropical Tidbits other website, right? But I think they also have freezing rain on this website, which yes, they do. Taking a look at this, notice they show horrendous amounts for some of these locations. Again, I mean, look at that, 1.5 inches. Again, the National Weather Service has said that's not likely, but across these locations, where anywhere you see this pink, right, there's potential for freezing rain. The amount that is displayed on this is most likely going to be wrong. The heaviest amounts south of Kansas City into central northern Missouri up to 1/2 inch, maybe a bit more. Same goes with central Illinois. There are some ice storm warnings issued, but again, it's not going to be as catastrophic as if you were to look at this and see, whoa, almost 2 inches, 1.5 inch of ice right there. That most likely is not going to happen. And again, up to 1/2 inch here, so these are more reasonable, but still maybe overdoing some of those amounts according to the RDPS. I want to see if the NAM model has freezing rain on this. It does. Taking a look at it, again, I said the NAM was more realistic yesterday, and that seems to be the case. These maybe a bit higher here. That seems to be a bit too high. But really across Missouri, Illinois, 2/10, 3/10 of an inch are possible, if not likely. And 3/10, again, it could cause some power outages, slippery roads for definitely, And into Pennsylvania, again, those amounts pretty light, but again, I say light really compared to what the models were showing across Missouri. But generally speaking, 1/2 inch of ice would still be a rather bad event, and that is definitely a possibility across Pennsylvania, especially since it's kind of blocked off by the mountains here. So it funnels in that cold air, and it could definitely prolong that event for a few hours. Let's take a look at the RAP. I know I'm showing you a ton of models. I always do this. It seems to, people like this, see like different opinions. It's kind of like different news sources, if you will. And notice that this is the RAP in terms of snowfall. I will show you the ice in a minute. Now notice that really by tomorrow in the afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, getting into Illinois, Iowa, the Quad Cities, Kansas City seeing 4 to 5 according to this model, which is reasonable. And into portions of Michigan and southern Canada, it just begins to develop the system. Notice it does cut down a bit on the snow across Illinois and Michigan, this model. But again, all it takes is a few extra hours or a few less hours, and something like this, or something more of what the European shows could be in play for really Wichita and Missouri. So definitely an interesting thing to keep an eye out for. Let's take a look at the, I think, yeah, they do have the total accumulated freezing rain quantitative amounts. Again, it does overdo this quite significantly. There won't be, 1.5 inch of ice. Probably half an inch, though, across the same area that it shows heaviest. Probably will be the heaviest, but again, not that much ice. And though, again, I say not that much, but I just want to emphasize it so much that won't be 1.5 inches because that would be catastrophic. That would be crippling. That would probably knock out power to most of central Missouri. But a half an inch could still do quite a bit of damage, and the roads will be pretty much untravelable. But again, that's what ice does. And if you were to predict 1 to 3 inches of ice, that's a historic event versus a significant event, which in my opinion, there's a difference. So that is all the models I wanted to show you. I went over as many as I can. I can actually show you the GFS parallel, which is the upgraded GFS model. Notice, much more reasonable with these amounts. Still a bit high across some locations, but these locations right here, 3/10, 2/10 is likely, if not possible, and that seems reasonable. In terms of snowfall, for those wondering, this is what the snow is going to look like from this first event, and then the second one does drop quite a bit according to the parallel, especially across Maine. So definitely something to watch for. And in terms of rainfall, I haven't showed you the rain chill now, but I will show you it. There will be quite a bit, especially as you go south, obviously, where it's warm enough. Some copious amounts, up to 3 to 4. Now, if you recall at the beginning of the video, I said I want to show you something really cool, or some just cool facts that I found. This is now. I want to show you this. So people have been, asking me, oh, how has this winter compared to other winters? Has it been snowy, less snowy? And to be honest with you, it's been, obviously, it's been pretty warm. Most of the United States has been warmer this year, this winter, and I think that will be the trend. However, let's just take a look at some of these snowfall amounts, right? So, by the way, this is the issuance for the January outlook. Warm, right? So people may say, oh, no snow. But again, a lot of that precip will be helping those snow chances if they do occur, which really, it doesn't have to be below average to see snow in January. Now, I want to show you local national forecast offices and see how much snow many locations have gotten in Ohio, Pennsylvania. Anywhere I picked cities all the way from the west coast to the east coast and compare it and see how much snow they have gotten this year compared to other years, or on average. So let's go to Cleveland, right? Let's check this out. Move this on center. Cleveland, I saw that, look, since July 1st, they've seen 24.1 inches since December 23, and the average is 18. So they are running above average, Cleveland. Now let's take a look at the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, right? Just, there are many other locations like I've chosen, but I just chose the biggest, most populated ones in each state, or in as many states as I could do in this short time. Notice 30 inches since July 1st, December 1st, and above average for the whole season. Quite a bit above average in Minneapolis. Let's continue. Boston, Massachusetts. Obviously, with that big snowstorm they've seen, they are also running a bit above average, and I think that will be a trend. A lot of storms, some warmth, and then more storms. So notice 17.3 inches, 10.3 is their average. So running 7 inches above average, exactly. New York City, let's take a look at this. Last year, they, I think, had like 6 inches. This year, well, they're already at 10.5, and it's not even January. And their average is 5.1, so already running above average. Take a look at Norman, Oklahoma. Again, I'm choosing locations from all over the United States, not just the Northeast. Oklahoma City, let's take a look at this. Their annual snowfall is, well, this is taking a bit while to load for some reason. This one was having some issues as I couldn't get it to load earlier. There we go. Total snowfall from, December and June is the same thing almost. July, 6.8. Their average is 2.3, so running above average. All right, so let's take a look at Pittsburgh. Again, they saw that big system across the Northeast and fewer smaller ones in terms of snowfall. 28.3. That is 18 inches plus above average. So you guys cannot be complaining when you've had that much snow. I get it. It hasn't stuck around for a while, but unfortunately, that's not a metric that the offices use. Des Moines, Iowa, daily climatological report. Des Moines, Iowa, right? Let's take a glance at this. What they have here is 17 or 22.3 inches, very above average, as our average is 11.9. So again, Iowa, the central country, the southern plains, and northeast. I'm choosing places from all over the United States. Let's move on. Washington. There are plenty of locations up in the northwest I have seen below average. I know that, but Spokane was one that I clicked on that was above average, and I just wanted to show you. Right here, look at that. 34 inches since July 1st. Their average is 21.6. Quite a bit above average. Taking a look at Binghamton, New York, the one that saw that massive nor'easter, well, obviously they are running above average quite significantly. Total snowfall is 51.6, while their average is 24.6. So I think that's their annual almost snowfall right there. Not annual, probably still a bit lower, but they will definitely end up above average just because of that one system. So definitely a blockbuster for that. Detroit. Now we're starting to get towards cities that are above average, but not as much. Detroit, Michigan, daily climatological report, right? People have been saying Detroit has been so dry, so snow-free. Well, think again, look, 13.1 inches, and the average is 11.2. So most of western or eastern Michigan is running above average. Now, Jackson, Kentucky, another state, right? Another National Weather Service office. Let's take a look at this. They have seen 11 inches. Their average is 5.5 inches. I just want to show as many cities as possible. I have a few more here. North Platte, Nebraska. Let's take a look at their daily climatological report. Take a look at this. Snowfall, 11.9. They are running above average, while not significantly above average. It's still above average, and an active pattern continues, so I'm sure they won't really fall behind on the snowfall. Great Falls, Montana. Let's take a look at this. Montana had a good start and kind of a slower season right now. They are in 22 inches, however, since July 1st, 13.3. And again, since December 1st, you are running quite a bit dry. That is for sure. But as an overall, which when you look back in history, generations from now, you'll look at the winter and be like, oh, it was snowy, because this is what they track it from, not from December 1st. And again, it's going to get active. I refuse to believe you're not going to see any more snow into January and February. So Gaylord, Michigan, Michigan this time, more further up north. So let's take a look at this. In terms of snowfall, you have seen 25.8. The normal is 27.3, a bit below average. But for it being that warm, it's still obviously not bad. And again, more snow is probably on its way in the short term, so not too bad, not too shabby. Northern Indiana, another location that I think is close to average, below average. Yeah, now we're getting towards the below average cities, because I was showing you a lot of cities that were above average. Now I want to show you a few that were below. Indiana, right? 16.7 is their well, this is Northern Indiana, not Indianapolis, but Northern Indiana. 16.7 is how much they've seen. 22.5 is their average, so it is a bit below average, to say the least. But again, that is still rather more than some people would, feel like it would be. Buffalo, New York, they've seen quite a bit of snow, but again, not a record season by far. They have their average is 33.8. There's 3 inches of snow behind average, which again isn't too significant at this point. Grand Forks, North Dakota, they had a really good start and a pretty slow season as of now, so they went into a deficit. Again, they had 8.1 in December, right, which did help them quite a bit, but still above average for either time frame. Notice into Chicago. This is a city that I live in, and we've had below average, 3.1 and 9.3 for average. Average. So there are cities that are below, but any city in the Northeast, really Kentucky, Michigan, most of Indianapolis is a bit below average as well. Those are all above average, so I had to scour out these singular cities that have been missed by a lot of storms. And then as we put into Kansas City, which you could see, up to 6 inches tonight, they haven't seen much at all this year. I think 2 inches is there. 1.1, so yeah, they're running quite a bit below, but this snowstorm could put them up there. And that is basically it for today's video, guys. I know that there's a few locations that are below average. There's actually some, Madison, Milwaukee are a bit running below average due to Wisconsin. I would say Wisconsin is that one state where there is quite a bit of below average snow. Almost all cities, Green Bay, northeastern Wisconsin, northwestern Wisconsin, into maybe northwestern a bit less, but still rather dry. That, again, is just one out of state where the UP has been relatively snowy. Again, Michigan, as you saw, has been relatively snowy. Minnesota had a good start. Twin Cities, Minneapolis has seen a record year. Further up north, not so much. So it varies, but, it's not as bad as people make it out to seem where snow drought. It's been overall a much snowier than average season for most of the United States. and it's only January 1st. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Again, stay safe. There are some ice storm warnings, winter storm warnings, and a huge area of winter weather advisories. So for official info, always go to the National Weather Service. Thank you. Bye.